Greetings. This is Nyah Tsai with National Network View. On tonight's show, I will sit down with Brother Kareem and Sister Sabbath Muhammad to discuss successful Black marriages. Before we delve into the top news, let's do a recap of the events we've covered in this past week on National Network View. On yesterday's show, NNV's news anchor Tariq X spoke with guest Brother Louis Ali about land development, rebuilding Black communities, self-sufficiency, and separation.
So when you say separation, what do you mean? What steps must we take to rebuild thriving communities and create generational wealth that pushes over to the next generation?
Well, the first step is we need a man. I can't say how much that man, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, means to this movement. Let me say something about image. You know, image is how young Black boys have an imagination. And imagination is how we get a purpose and a will to do something and to be somebody special. And all of the masculine Black male images have just about been destroyed and so slandered that we don't pay any attention to them except the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And so we want to separate so that we can do something for ourselves.
Vernon Muhammad discussed the recent market drop in cryptocurrency.
So what's new in the world of blockchain technology this week?
Actually, there's a lot of new and exciting things that are on the horizon, but as that clip put the focus on, we know that Elon Musk, who is the CEO of Tesla, a few weeks back made the announcement that you would be able to buy Tesla or services through Tesla using Bitcoin. Well, in a sudden change in this past week, he suddenly announced that, oh, well, you know, you're not going to be able to do that with Tesla anymore. You're not going to be able to purchase a Tesla or services using Bitcoin. And a lot of people look at people like Elon Musk, and anything they say, anything they do has a ripple effect. So you had that go on. A lot of people, you know, reacted to what they saw come out, whether it meant something or whether it didn't. You also have to keep in mind the rise of Bitcoin and various cryptocurrencies over the last year. There's a lot of people who made a lot of money.
Vernon Muhammad also discussed financial literacy, fluctuations in the market, and building wealth.
We know that you offer, you know, a platform where you do give a lot of valuable information on cryptocurrency and financial literacy, etc.
There's a big focus on decentralized finance. Now, decentralized finance is a term that we probably, if out of all the terms, we probably want to pay close attention to that. Okay, every one of us is intricately connected to the banking industry. Every one of us has a bank account. Every one of us uses a debit card. You know, wherever we go, there's something that we have to do that travels through a bank. Even if we're just using Square and Cash App and Venmo or whatnot, there is a bank, and the banking industry is connected. Decentralized finance takes the power, takes the money, the profits from the banking institutions, and puts them back in the hands of the individuals, which is where it should be, where it should have been all along.
NNV News anchor Rosalind Parks' guest, Jeremy Peaches, discussed his Fresh Life organic business.
And when we had you on previously, you have since interviewed regarding justice for Black farmers. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, so yes, ma'am. So I was interviewed by two organizations. One, I think it was the local ABC 13 news station, and also the another African American National News Network about the Justice Act, an act that hasn't necessarily been passed, but has been proposed in the legislation to be able to provide debt relief in terms of farmers in their land and their loans, as well as some new and beginning farmer programs for specifically African American, or in the USDA terms, socially disadvantaged farmers, which could span across all kind of other races as well.
NNV weekly contributor Brian E. Muhammad discussed the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and war on the horizon.
Did Israel's treatment of the Palestinian Muslims during the holy month of Ramadan escalate the Israeli-Palestinian conflict?
Well, it did. It did. I think it added to a number of issues that was already going on. But I think that with the attack at Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the third holiest site for Muslims in the world, behind the two holy sites in Mecca and Medina, when they did that, they angered the world, especially during the month of Ramadan, because this was captured on international broadcasting. So the world saw this defilement of the third holiest place of Islam, plus it's a site that's revered by the Jews as well as by Christians.
Brian E. Muhammad also discussed Israeli aggression, colonization, and demolition of Palestinian homes.
Is Israel escalating the conflict by amassing ground troops in this latest offense?
Well, it is. I mean, Israel is doing what Israel has always done. The amassing of ground troops against a defenseless Palestinian people, it tells the story of the lopsidedness of Israel. I mean, they say that they're fighting the resistance group Hamas, who have been shelling rockets really in self-defense, not even in offense, but in self-defense of what Israel has been doing to the occupied population of Palestinians. And so by them putting ground troops along with this bombardment of air raids that have been going on since the 10th of May, it only exacerbates things. And it's only, again, a testimony of what Israel have always done.
NNV weekly contributor Dr. Achille discussed the CDC and U.S. government's continued push for COVID vaccinations and children now being approved for these experimental vaccines.
What are the potential risks in children versus adults when it comes to vaccines in general?
Well, a child doesn't have the same capability to withstand negativity as an adult. It's called, kind of similar to any other capacity of something larger versus something smaller. The capacity to store toxins, the capacity to deal with challenges against the system are automatically going to be improved in an adult versus a child because of the maturity of the body. And so even though we're in the midst of a pandemic, I think it's important for us to remember that at the beginning of this pandemic, there was not a lot of talk about younger people being a threat. It was thought that young people were pretty much protected because of their youthful immune systems.
Tony Muhammad discussed mask mandates in schools and the negative health effects that will occur as the mask mandates are lifted.
Florida's Education Commissioner Richard Corcoran is asking school districts to make masks and face coverings to be voluntary. From your experience, is that a wise choice?
No, it is not a wise choice, dear sister. Even if these children get vaccinated, which right now we're seeing even the case with the New York Yankees, as Dr. Keeley mentioned, 9 players and staff members got vaccinated and they tested positive for COVID-19. And we see repeated cases all over the news in which even though the adults, we're talking about adults here, we're not talking about children, the adults get vaccinated and they're ending up with COVID themselves. And now when we have children coming into the classroom and now they have the choice, oh, well, if I want to, I could not wear my mask.
Lord Rocca, hip-hop artist, activist, and entrepreneur, discussed his music.
What challenges, if any, have you met blending your desire to make music with answering God's calling?
I think the challenge is trying to find a way to deliver something righteous and also make it creative. Oftentimes you have artists who are conscious in the conscious community, but they come off what people consider corny, right? It wasn't creative enough. So the challenge is always making making the records relatable to the people and not being so preachy and so, pressed on them and their faults or what they may do that you don't like. So always finding that niche and that creativity, that's the challenge. And it works out pretty well for me.
NNV News anchor Willie Muhammad's guests, Sadia Kareem and Dr. Gary Clark, discussed white privilege in the NFL.
So is this just as it relates to Tim Tebow? Is this just a player being given another chance by his coach, or is it another manifestation of white privilege?
It's actually white privilege that he is benefiting. That's what white privilege is all about, is benefiting from their white relationships. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at Tebow, he was known for taking the knee to express his religious views. And so you have our dear brother, Kaepernick, who expressed his views as it concerns police racial injustice. And he was ostracized and he was blackballed because of it. So there's a hypocrisy with that as well. And so now you have this player who barely, his last two teams that he played for, he barely got any playing time. And he was a quarterback. Now he's a tight end. And he's getting an opportunity based on his white privilege in the NFL. And although the commissioner said eventually, especially with all the racial uprising, that they got it wrong, right? But if you got it wrong, then you got to make it right.
Sadia Kareem and Dr. Gary Clark also discussed Hollywood's fixation on Black trauma.
Could the impact of watching more and more of these Black sufferings on the screen have a more devastating impact that outweighs the attempt to increase Black representation on the silver screen? What I mean by that is there are people who say, yeah, it's Black trauma, but at least we have now more Black representation on the silver screen. But can that be outweigh the representation?
No, I had an uncle, a great uncle, should I say. He died at the age of 107, and he was beloved by the family. And there's one thing that I recognized from him, that was the fact that he refused to look at movies that had pain, Color Purple, et cetera, regardless of how great they may have been. He just refused to look at it. And I understand now, and I understand why he had this refusal, because it was too much of the exaggeration of the Black experience.
Let us pause for announcements from our sponsors. When we return, Brother Kareem and Sister Sabbath Muhammad will be on to talk about Black love and marriages. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps us to highlight solutions for a brighter tomorrow. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Asiatic Minds. Online education. Helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness, as well as the greatness of our people. And upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. Call now, 502-219-4848.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
The hashtag #BankBlack social media campaign made strides not only in revolutionizing how we bank, but also how we think. The movement inspired thousands of African Americans across the country to transfer or deposit millions of dollars into Black-owned banks. These are banks that will invest in urban communities, employ African Americans, support Black businesses, and inspire Black home ownership. This is a very proud moment for our culture as we are taking small, but significant, steps towards building Black power through Black wealth.
Thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comments section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, National Network View. This is Clifton Muhammad with NNVnews.com.
As more people these days are staying single rather than getting married, it is important to understand the benefits of marriage and how it can be successful. Joining us is Brother Kareem and Sister Sabbath Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum. How are you all doing today?
Well, praise be to Allah. How are you, Sister Nyah?
I am doing very well also. We can just jump right into it today. So what was the intent of successful Black marriages?
Yes, ma'am. So first, in the name of Allah, that is merciful. I brought us that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. And I'd like to greet everyone in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. So praise be to Allah. The intent behind successful Black marriages, it was, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that there was an increase in divorces all over. It's a pandemic, just like the coronavirus. And so with that being said, not just in the Lost Farm community, but in the nation, and I wanted to aid in putting a cease to that. Because when you see people that are actually doing it, that are successful, that have been married for a long time and loving it, you want to know the keys to that success. Oftentimes we know the format of creating a wedding, we know what a wedding needs, we know the wedding planner, this and the other, we know all the elements to a wedding, but when we get into marriage, one can't say the same thing. So the intent was to ensure and to help aid, those keys, those guidelines, just as we have guidelines for a wedding, give those same guidelines for a marriage so that we could have successful Black marriages. So that was the intent. So yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that. Now, do you think that you've been married long enough to qualify the both of you, to be able to share tips and advice to others?
I would say, I would say we are on 8 months.
Something like
we're
that.
We're still
congratulations.
Praise be to Allah.
We're still newborns, quote unquote, in the institution of marriage, but we've learned a lot, and we are still learning about one another. So whatever advice we can give from our experience, we'll gladly give it.
Right. Are you now?
No, go ahead.
To add on to that, we're taught that the Bible says study to show thyself approved. And with that being said, you can't be approved if you don't study. However, do I think we're quote unquote qualified? That word is very big for me. So I will say, as we're growing and what we find, for lack of a better term, works, I have married friends as well, married sister friends surrounding me. And if I find something, okay, well, it worked when I did this, or it worked when I did that, then I'll share it. But, in terms of, just give all the advice of marriage, no, because we're still learning. Parents are only qualified based upon what based upon the lessons that Allah has given them, and they can pass on those gems to their children. But they're still learning, so their qualification is based upon their knowledge. So our qualification is based upon whatever gems Allah blesses us. So we're still learning, but I can't say that we picked up gems along the way. So
and that's on 1930.
Absolutely. Praise be to Allah. It's always a process. Now, next question. What makes a marriage successful?
I would say, and that's a very, so to give a one answer, I would say faith in Allah, because that encompasses so much within itself. If you don't have, we're taught faith without works is dead. So don't just take, faith and say, oh, I have faith, but don't believe in it, don't do anything after that. So faith in Allah is the basis. Brother Roy gives this example about the triangle. If you have Allah at the base, the two are, keeping their heads together. However, if Allah drops, the rest of the triangle falls down. So I would say faith in Allah.
And to add on to what my wife is saying, along with that faith, you have to have the willpower to put the work in.
That's right.
If you're lacking in something in the marriage, whether it's transparency, communication, whatever it may be, you have to be willing to put in the work to make your marriage work.
That's right.
Because in the Quran, it says Allah hates divorce.
That's right.
We didn't get married just to say, hey, we got married and we're done. No, this is a process. As a matter of fact, we're moderators, one of many moderators on the male-female relationship show that you should tune into every Saturday. And one of the things that we really strive to say is that it's a process. We are not, Sister Sabbath and I are not married. We are in the institution of marriage.
So
it's a process.
From Keys to a Successful Marriage. Look that lecture up on YouTube.
Yes, it's a constant thing.
That's right.
It's a very constant thing. And as long as you remember that, you will continue to put in the work and keep up your faith in your marriage. Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir. Love is duty. Praise be to Allah. So in modern day society, people rather date or stay single rather than get married. Why do you believe that marriage is important?
I'll let you have that.
Okay, so we know, again, I have to strive to echo my teacher, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, but we know that there can be no strong communities, there can be no strong nations if there are no strong communities, and there can be no strong communities if there are no strong families. So marriage is important because, one, we see that our community has the lack thereof. There are too many fatherless children. There are too many mothers who are striving, but they're trying to have ends meet, and it's an imbalance. We know. I don't even really have to give examples. We know that there's an imbalance. We can look at every family around us and say, okay, that's imbalance, that's imbalance, that's it. We know that our community has an imbalance. So in order to fix that, we have to start. The self-improvement study guides teaches us that you can't fix anything until we fix ourselves. So that's the same thing in a community. We can't fix the community until each singular unit comes together and say, okay, I'm strong. Now all the fingers are strong. Now we have a fist. But if we stay singular and never strengthen these fingers, it's going to be separate. There are going to be gaps. Closing the Gap. Please get that book from store.finalcall.org. So there's marriages are important because our community is important. So I'll just leave it at that.
It's literally half of our faith.
That's right.
Literally. You don't know what you're made of until you marry the other half of your faith.
That's right.
Praise be to Allah.
I can bear witness, but we don't have to.
All right, so 2 more questions for you. Why is courtship so important?
Go.
Okay.
I got the last one.
Okay. Courtship is important because we get a in the dating world, you jump into to a relationship and then you get attached, and after you find out things after the attachment, so that's this it doesn't really smooth out well. You find out things after the attachment, and then you want to back up, or now feelings are hurt, or just to be frank, the extremities of this world is, people cause physical harm. It's never okay. However, we can prevent certain things, right? Because in courtship, we, as Brother Nori says, when you get a car, you look at all the fact checks. You look at the VIN number, right? And you see everything that happened with that car. If you have that much, if we, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said to use if we have that much value in a car, then we should have that much value in ourselves and to see what type of person we're getting into with, or, striving to find marriage within that spouse. So courtship keeps us on a non-emotional plane, whereas we can fact check everything properly, right? I found out. So we were friends first, and a brother and sister way. In terms of he was my brother, right? He was my brother. But with that process of courtship, I was able to find so much more about him to be able to allow me to say, okay, I believe strongly this is the one for me to help me become into a God. But I will say, courtship does not necessarily guarantee marriage, because you can find things about that person that, it's like, I don't think so. And there's no blame on you, right? Because we didn't put emotional aspects on the table to say, okay, all that lovey-dovey, now you're afraid to back out. No, it's like, okay, thank you for your time. You've been a beautiful person. May Allah bless you to find someone that is for you. It's court. So that's why courtship is important. I'm trying to keep myself from being long-winded. Go ahead, Faye.
You basically summed it up. Courtship is like going for a job interview, or even better yet, for brothers who may be watching this is trying out for the team. You have to find out what does this potential person have to add on to you, and what can you add on to them, right. to make the team even stronger, right? That's what courtship is, and it's not personal. It's not personal as long as you don't get emotionally invested. That is key. Right. That is the big thing.
That's right.
So praise be to Allah.
I agree, yes, sir. Because when you do get emotionally invested, that's when feelings start to get hurt. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, as Sister Sabbath was stating, there are conversations that can be had during the courtship process, before marriage, to see if you all are compatible together. So, last question. When going into marriage, what are some topics that are a must to discuss?
I would start out, so when Brother Kareem came to my father, and Brother Kareem at the time, because he's not my brother anymore, when he came to my father and showed interest, I was gearing my mind, right? I was getting myself prepared, like I'm about to go into courtship. So I asked one of my uncles, who's a student minister here in Atlanta, Georgia, Uncle Marcus. I asked him and his wife, my auntie, Sister Cecilia, they actually have done multiple marriage and single retreats. But I asked them, for some advice. And so Uncle Marcus told me, and I'll never forget this, he told me, ask any question that is on your mind. Because we know that we have, I feel like it's like the self-accusing spirit, kind of. Certain things just, certain things come naturally that you need to know. Now, if we're not serious about courtship, then I don't think those questions will come up. If we're, if we're in it, as the Honorable Minister Farrakhan says, to be frank, for striving to get past that phase of the I do, just to have legal fornication, then those questions aren't going to come up. But if you're actually in it to find the partner that'll make us a God, trust me, it's like, okay, what do you do when you get angry? This, that, and the other, they come. So I didn't want to give a specific question because, we know what we need most. We know what our impediments are. We know what other people's impediments can be. So write a list. We know best what Allah knows best what we need, but we have an idea of, ourselves, right? We have an idea of people. We have an idea of failures. We have an idea of successes. So treat it seriously. I don't really want to give, if it's okay, a specific question. Treat it seriously. Take a piece of paper and be serious about it and write down all that is on your mind, all the good, all the bad, all the maybes, all the possiblies. And, ask away. If we're serious, then I believe that they will come.
Praise be to God. She covered it. She covered everything. There's nothing I need to say.
Absolutely. So thank you all so much for joining us today. Do you all have a social media that we can follow you on? Do you have an email that we can reach out to you if we have any questions? I know you have your Successful Black Marriages page.
Yes,
you mind just sharing that with us?
Yes. So you can follow Successful Black Marriages, all one word, on Instagram. Successful Black Marriages. You can also go to www.successfulblackmarriages.com. There are interviews from those who have been married for long periods of time.
Decades.
Nothing short, right? Because that's the keys for success. And you can follow myself personally on Sabbath Muhammad, one word, SABBATH, at Sabbath Muhammad, MUHAMMAD on Instagram.
Now you can follow my personal, where I do Farrakhan Fridays almost every Friday, trying to get more consistent. My IG handle is K the Creator. And you can also follow my Kareem Talks page, which is at Kareem Talks. And that's where I do my talk show every Sunday, bringing different believers from the Nation of Islam out, talking about their gifts, skills, talents, and abilities, because Muslims are not just robots. We are not just dogmatic religious people. We have talents, we have gifts and abilities, and things on our mind that we want to discuss. So if you or a friend is interested, please inbox, Kareem Talks on IG, and also check out my website, welcome to KareemTalks.com.
Thank you so very much, Sister Sabbath and Brother Kareem, for joining us today. It was a pleasure being able to have this conversation with you all. May Allah God bless you both with a successful marriage and success with successful Black marriages as well.
Praise be to Allah.
Thank you for having us. Praise be to Allah.
And thank you for joining us today and tuning into National Network View News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News and subscribe to our YouTube channel, NNV News. This is Nyah Tsai with National Network View.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with NNVnews.com.